And so I'm back for my UFN 25 recap video. Despite the fact that the first three bouts went all the way to decision, most of the card in fact didn't. And that's what you generally tend to find with cards that are actually a little bit lesser. One of the problems with the UFC is that the main events and the big numbered events are sometimes not as interesting as those fighters who are still basically up-and-comers, and they're put on sort of lower cards, cards of lower esteem like the UFN. They generally tend to, believe it or not, work a lot harder, be a lot more exciting, and be more pressed to finish, which is what happened for most of the cards on this bout. The first bout I want to really talk about is Anthony Waldberger and Mike Stumpf. Two things. First of all, Anthony Waldberger was never supposed to fight Mike Stumpf. In fact, Mike Stumpf, who's a debutee, was never supposed to fight at all. He stepped in as a debutee last minute when Daniel Roberts pulled out. My original prediction was that Daniel Roberts would win against Anthony Waldberger. I changed that prediction when I realised that Mike Stumpf was his replacement. Mike Stumpf, no offence, because he is actually from Wanderlei Silva's team, so he's very good, and it showed. What happened was, now, if you have ever watched Eight-Legged Freaks, you'll know that one of the spiders depicted there is the jumping spider. When I went to the US on my first trip, I was sat reading a book on a little picnic bench under this tree, and I was minding my own business when something sort of landed with a bit of a clunk, fell out of the tree and landed on the table next to me, scuttled across the book and went under the table. I had never seen a jumping spider before in my life. Not like that, not a proper jumping spider. We have tiny little jumping spiders in England, but nothing like that. Anyway, needless to say, not knowing what it was, I got up from the table and left as quickly as possible. I looked it up later and it was a jumping spider, and if you watch the opening of the Anthony Waldberger and Mike Stumpf round, that is what you see. You see a jumping spider, because what happens is that Anthony Waldberger takes off and sort of jumps the whole length of the octagon. As he's doing that, he catches Mike Stumpf, sort of spins him round and lands on his back. And I just thought, oh my god, it's a jumping spider. Now, Mike Stumpf did very, very, very well not to be completely obliterated by that. The round went on with Mike Stumpf actually getting out eventually of the submissions. The problem with Mike Stumpf trying to apply submissions is that he tends to use them as holds rather than submissions, whereas whatever Anthony Waldberger is working on, he's trying for the submission, and eventually he gets it in the first round. No wonder the UFC gave him the tap out of the night, and I have to say, you might not think that that is a big thing, but it is, because despite being a brilliant finish, there were other bouts that finished in the first round by similar manoeuvres. So well done to Anthony Waldberger. One such match was between Ken Stone and Donnie Walker. And interestingly enough, I was thinking spider again when I saw this. Because one of the things spiders do, when they're hungry but not hungry enough to actually eat, is that they wrap flies up, or whatever bugs go in, and they leave them sort of cocooned in the web to eat later. And that's pretty much what it looked like was happening with Donnie Walker, because the whole of the first round was how to get an RNC on someone who was acting a little bit like a dummy. I mean, he sort of gave no defence at all, and Ken Stone sort of took his time in getting the choke, and then seemed to take his time in executing it as well, because Donnie Walker, who eventually went to sleep, must have been in that choke for about sort of nearly half a minute before he actually sort of went unconscious, and it was quite strange because you could see his eyes sort of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and when he rolled over, his feet were like drumming on the floor, and it was a little bit like, yes, it was a little bit like watching the death throes of this fly trying to get away from this monstrous spider who was wrapping it up and eating it. I got what I wanted, nearly, with the fight between Matt Riddle and Lance Benoist. Now, I have to say, it is a shame that the choke attempt, I think it was in the second, could have been in the first, end of the first, start of the second, can't remember. But that Benoist got didn't manage to finish Riddle, but there we are. I have to also admit that in the first round, Lance Benoist did kick Matt Riddle in the balls, and in fact for some reason Matt Riddle was bouncing up and down on the ground. I don't know why, as in not in pain, but afterwards he collected himself, then he sat down and started bouncing up and down. Don't know, does that help? But anyway, so for that reason I can't give Lance Benoist my Man of the Card award, but somewhere deep inside me was a little giggle when that happened, just because Matt Riddle was terribly rude to me in correspondence, and I'm kind of not at all sorry that sort of thing might accidentally happen to him. Riddle did get his revenge, sort of. The first round and the second round, up until sort of near the end, was Lance Benoist, and I think that's probably what gave him the decision. But after that, Matt Riddle managed to sort of break his nose, and the third round, I think he was just sort of clinging on, and he did very, very well. But the third round was not quite as good as the other two. So anyway, he wins by decision, so I'm pleased at that. Evan Dunham and Shamar Bailey. Not much to say about this. I am surprised that Shamar Bailey wasn't better on the feet. I don't know if that's being a little bit mean to him or not. Evan Dunham, I thought his strength was more on the ground, but he excelled on the feet, even if he didn't know quite when to stop. I think what happened was, in the last minute of the first round, he was not expecting Shamar Bailey to manage to sort of push him into the fence, and he reacted sort of angrily by that for some strange reason. And then Shamar Bailey took advantage and sort of got a takedown. And he stands back up, Shamar Bailey goes to bring him down again, the horn goes, and Evan Dunham carries on. He just pushes him, do you know what I mean, away and onto the floor, and I'm not surprised Shamar Bailey was a little bit upset at that. Other than that, the rest of the rounds, whatever, and Evan Dunham wins that one. Cody McKenzie and Wagner Rocha. I don't know what was going on with Cody McKenzie early in the first round, where he seemed to almost be sort of showboating. I don't know what you would describe it, but he stops and he's like, come on then, sort of thing. And I'm a little bit, and of course not so long after that, he got kneed in the balls, and it looked a little bit more deliberate than it was accidental to me, but there we are. Second round, he ended up getting choked out again, but don't worry, fear not, it was not a guillotine choke. It's going to happen sooner or later if he's not careful, but it was not a guillotine choke, it was just an RNC. Ellenberger and Jason MacDonald, they say here it was a verbal tap out due to strikes. That's not really what I saw. I saw Jason MacDonald unable to defend himself and the ref stepping in. So I don't know where that's come from. It seemed to be like a normal stoppage to me. But Ellenberger pretty much dominated that one. Eric Koch and Jonathan Brookins. Now, Eric Koch has said that he is not so happy with this match because it went all the way to decision. I don't know where he thinks he could have finished it, but he started a bit late. The first round he gave to Brookins, he just didn't seem to engage, and then he sort of reclawed on that, so he gets a decision victory there. Dong Yang and Court McGee, big yawn, I'm afraid, and if anybody cares, Court McGee did win that, so the strange chap did win that. Jake Shields and Jake Ellenberger. It was a knee that was Jake's undoing, and by that I mean Jake Shields. And this is the sort of thing which he has managed to avoid before, which he didn't manage to. You know, when I said in my prediction video that one of the things about Jake Shields is that some of his wins are a little bit dicey, where he seems to get into trouble and then has sort of the circumstances haven't worked against him. Well, this time the referee was quite quick with his stoppage. I think perfectly legitimate, because Jake Shields did not know where he was, and although he protested, it was a little bit late. It's like he needed to be told the round had finished before he protested. Jake Ellenberger was looking for it. As soon as he got the knee, he wanted to finish. And credit to him, although I picked against him, I did say that I wanted him to win, and he did win. And for some reason, I think, you know, why can't he have a rematch with Carlos Condit now? Anyway. That is my recap video, and if you want to know who my man of the card is,